Hello, hello, hello. So, this should be another nice chill stream, just like last night, right? Because I'm sure that Bounty into Comics is going to be full on good faith journalistic integrity. I'm absolutely sure, 100% that's going to be the case. Right? 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 I mean, that's what happened last night, right? Do 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 do. There, there, and there. Pop out chats. Yeah, that's not working all that well there. Eh, screw it. Yeah, I know. No, you don't have them confused with anyone else. That's actually something that I'm going to be starting with. You do not have them confused with anyone else. That's actually why I'm covering it, because I was like, what the fuck is happening here? This is not We Got Covered. This is not one of those other insane ones. This one that typically actually acts like they believe that this stuff is good. So, yeah. And I have a kitty coming in. Cool. Yeah. But I mean, aren't both sides conservative in a way? But yeah, but yeah, it is certainly conservative bias. Yeah. Oh, that. My own live stream started playing, and I started hearing myself. Oh, not a problem. There's two of them actually. The one that's in the room with me right now is called Jasper. We also call him Potato. The other one's name is Dizzy. So yeah, the very first thing that I'm going to be going over is the About Us page that Into Comics has. There's a few interesting nuggets in here that I'm going to be kind of referring to while we watch this. Yeah, I mean, but a lot of this is conservative on it's conservative on conservative, so that's what I find interesting. But yeah, I find it fascinating that a company that journalists that claim to support or anime, video games, and comics would also support someone who says anime is satanic and that video games and cause mass shootings. Hey CT, how's it going? But yeah, I do know what you're saying in Jedi. So yeah. Oh, and I almost forgot to text somebody. And yep, I see a CT. Don't worry. Is the music that I have going right now decent? Because like I found out last night, I need to have something running so that my headset doesn't die while I'm talking. Hey, Eagle Rider, how's it going? You ready to see me read this completely fair, not piece of media? So yeah, what are the One things as Jedi was just saying up there that really caught my attention on this was that it's bounding into comics that made this. Huh, that's weird. The music is mostly just to keep my headset from deciding that I'm not using it and powering off while I'm in the middle of talking last night. So I'm not too worried about whether anybody else can hear it. I just want to make sure that's not distracting. Okay. Sorry, eat a carrot stick. Never know. It might be possessed, or it might be saying that it does not want to watch this. And I just had some authentic Mexican taco birrias. Those are really good, made by a restaurant in town that is it's like the only restaurant in town that actually does authentic Mexican. Or at least that I found. So it was yummy. So, okay, here we go. So, Bounty into Comics. About us. Bounty into Comics has been providing comic book exclusives and industry insights since John Trent launched in 2014. What started as a destination for comic book news and reviews has grown to a comprehensive hub for nerd culture. Well, that's interesting that they are simping for someone who actually kind of seems to hate nerd culture. And so, yeah, I mean that's already in your mission statement. And what the hell are you doing? Bounding's team of comic, anime, gaming, movie, television aficionados leverage their network of press contacts, industry insiders, and content creators to deliver exclusive news, commentary, and insights. All content reflects subject matter expertise and opinions of the writer. Okay. So that means we'll know who to blame once we take a look at who the writer is. I don't know who his writer is yet. Bounding into Comics focused primarily on all things comic book when it launched in 2014. After being acquired by Aurora Media in 2017, advertising revenues exploded thanks to the monetization services of Intermarkets Inc. Growing ad revenues helped Bounding hire more freelance writers and expand into new verticals like celebrity. Well, is Matt Walsh or the Quarterian celebrity? Yeah, and anime. Yep, and they're covering anime and video games. I mean, to be frank, CBR probably has something similar in their bio, and we all know just how much we can rely on CBR. And our team does not rush to publish information without regard to accuracy. Well, I have not read the article yet, so we'll see if this is true. Now, as far as rushing, they seem to make that article that we're about to read pretty dang quickly. So I'm not so sure about the rushing to publish. And they quickly and carefully post corrections for any content errors. Well, we'll see whether or not. Oh, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, Jedi. So we'll see if they have posted corrections for any content errors. That'll be interesting to see. All right. So yeah, we've got that. So we know who we are supposedly covering. So moving over to the actual article. And actually, I think no, the picture is not going to work here because unlike the way the other one was formatted, it's not going to. It would actually cover up some of the text. So, going to the actual article at hand, and for anyone who didn't see me covering this yesterday, just know that Matt Walsh has made an article about how about how video games make you violent. A lot of people claimed that his article was just about saying that kids shouldn't be in front of screens for too long. But as we read the article, we found out that he wasn't just talking about kids, and his idea of too long was more than 1 hour in a day, and that he also thinks that horror movies are bad for you, and that he will judge you if you actually like a gory movie. So this is the type of person that that Bounding into Comics is defending. So Matt Walsh triggers Jeremy the Quartering Hambly with Christian teaching about moderation and discipline in regards to video games. Yeah, I was actually there for pretty much all of this as it was playing out. Don't take this stream as me simping for a Quartering. I mean, I do like him, but typically when I see him start shit up on Twitter, I start face palming because he has the worst Twitter takes in the world typically. So when I see something start up with him on Twitter, I pretty much always go, "What are you doing now? Get off Twitter before everything just goes badly for you." This time he actually had a good take, in my opinion. Mind you, he started trolling Matt Walsh, which is what I think that this article is talking about. They're taking Quartering in attempting to take the piss out of Matt Walsh as the Quartering being triggered. Yes. Yes, exactly, this girl Jedi. His heart's in the right place, but sometimes his head is up his ass. Especially on Twitter. I have a hard time getting too mad at him, but he makes me face palm a lot. So yeah. So to start, first of all, John F. Trent. So John F. Trent is the person to blame for this, or to credit for it if it ends up being a good article. Daily Wire host Matt Walsh recently triggered YouTube personality Jeremy Hambly, also known as the Quartering, after he shared pretty basic Christian teachings on moderation and discipline in regard to video games. Well, again, we just went over what Matt Walsh's actual position is on that, and it's downright puritanical, satanic, reminiscent of satanic panic. That's what pretty basic Christian teachings Matt Walsh was sharing. So yeah, already, yeah, no. Walsh tweeted back in March 8th, 2018, video games are a sacred cow because our country is filled with adults who are obsessed with them. That's why we all pretend, insanely, that there's nothing wrong or disturbing about a child spending all day killing people in a virtual world. Yeah. How about looking at more of the article that comes from? Yeah. Dude is not doing, he's either not doing his research or is intentionally not showing the rest of it, because I'm pretty sure that came from the article that we read. One sec. I'm just going to check that out. I'm just going to copy and search for that quote in that article. Okay, to be fair, it's not the exact quote because it's not coming up directly in there. So never mind on that. Google's hard, yeah. But I mean, they already talked about just how much research they do and how much they're doing to actually be completely, yeah, and totally accurate, guys. Oh, okay, so that is 100% from his tweet. Okay, my bad. But how about then going and looking at the article that he wrote? Because like so many people say, you need context, right? When either defending or attacking something, you need to know about what was going on at the time. This tweet was at the same time. I see March 8th, and the article was written on March 9th, the day after he made this tweet. So this tweet was actually just about midnight. So yeah, within 24 hours of making this tweet, he published this article, which means he had this article written when he wrote this tweet. So yeah, okay. He answered, I think it's all satanic. Back in October, Walsh was also asked in an all-access Q&A session what his thoughts on anime were. He answered, I think it's all satanic. I have no argument for why it's satanic. It just seems that way to me. All anime to me seems weird, just bizarre, creepy, and in general, I don't think that adults, whether it's anime or any other cartoon, with rare exception, adults should not be watching cartoons in general, I would say. Good for you. Well, at least they're reporting that accurately. Walsh would later make it clear that he was making an off-the-cuff joke about anime while satirizing Media Matters and other outlets who ran his remarks as serious. Well, okay. Like I said yesterday, I know that he was joking, but you can joke about things that you actually think. And after reading his article, I do think that he thinks that anime is most likely bad. He noted, these are all things you might say if you believe that I was not being totally serious when I declared all animation in Japan satanic. But again, I am serious. He says I'm serious. If I was joking, I would laugh. Deadpan humor has never been my thing, as you well know, being deadpan. And that is why, in the end, with all it said, anime is still canceled and cast back down into the fiery hell flames from which it came. What does this stupid ass journalist think that this is proving? I mean, it proves that Matt Walsh can troll, yeah. But it also proves that he's saying that we should not take him seriously. Because if he's able to troll this well, why should we take him seriously? We don't know when he's being serious and when he's not. So if he's really that good, anime is satanic. That's my emotional fact. Hampley took issue with Walsh's opinions, writing on Twitter, the right's weird obsession with disavowing video games, anime, and social media is why they'll never appeal to most of Gen Z. The base is literally dying off, and most of the voices in the community are actively refusing recruits. Is he wrong? Because with people like Walsh actively making fun of and saying that video games are bad and going with the satanic panic, children, kids, Gen Zers, 21-year-olds who game are going to be looking, 18-year-olds are going to be looking, and they're going to see people like AOC, who spends time with their favorite person on Twitch, and plays games and has fun, and they go, "Oh, you look cool." Then they look over and see one of the conservative voices, like say Matt Walsh, with his puritanical bent, and go, "What the hell am I looking at?" And I'm sorry, I can't say that Jeremy's wrong. That's going to be a turnoff. People, when you try to win hearts and minds for one side or the other, logic is not always the thing that you're going to be doing. He then made it clear he was discussing Walsh, writing, "Matt's not the only guy saying it. There was some other moron who tweeted, 'Anime is for pedophiles' or something the other day." Now, what I am going to say here, at first I thought that this was legitimately Jeremy saying that Matt wasn't who he was referring to, because I thought that it was legitimate that this tweet may have been further enough along that he was clarifying. But if you actually look at the timestamps, this is something I specifically looked at while prepping. This was sent at 3:47. The first one was sent at 3:41. he clarified only 6 minutes later, and I don't think that was enough time for him to get tons of people misunderstanding him and needing to clarify. So I'm gonna, if I'm going to be honest, I'm gonna say Jeremy was backpedaling a little bit when he's saying that he wasn't really talking about Matt. I think he was. Other possibility is that he might have realized a little bit just afterwards that it might be seen that way and wanted to clarify, but it wasn't because he got a ton of people misunderstanding, if you know what I'm saying. And I'm sorry I'm not getting quite as worked up about this one, because I'm just seeing in bias in here. I'm not seeing actively enraging statements yet. I mean, I might get there, but yeah. Walsh would reply to Hamley's criticism where he further detailed his position on video games. Walsh said, "There are a few points that matter, I think, but you won't be able to hear them if you insist absolutely that no statement is even vaguely critical of video games." Okay, now this is actually funny. I did hear this before, but I forgot that he said vaguely critical. Vaguely critical of video games. Again, we read his article last night. That was not vaguely critical of video games. He was actually blaming the Sandy Hill. I believe it's Sandy Hill. Well, I'm a terrible person. I don't remember. Sorry, the Sandy Hook shooter. And he blamed the Sandy Hook shooter for on video games. He wasn't just being vaguely critical, you motherfucking moron. Yeah. Nuclear weapon is vaguely destructive. Yeah, that's probably how Walsh feels about it. Can never be uttered in your presence. If video games are a religion for you, then there's not much I can say to get through to you. Dude, if you took what Jeremy said as being a religion and being upset about things being vaguely critical, you are a complete and utter fool. And also, I did see you say, "Just wait." But for everybody else, here's what it boils down to, Walsh continued. There's obviously nothing inherently wrong with video games as a medium. Yeah, I referenced the stream I did yesterday and reading through his own article. Yeah, you do see something inherently wrong with it. You talk about being bombarded all the time. Walsh is a moron, and if this writer thinks that he's making a good point, he's not. Outraged mob upset by my take on video games. Oh no! Walsh went on to point out, the two things we have to take into consideration with screen-based entertainment of all kinds are the messages embedded in the content and the amount of time spent on the content. So yeah, the amount of time spent on the content, 1 hour at max, right? And especially if you're talking about screen-based stuff, that means we should only be watching you, right, Matt? Yeah, that's kind of what I'm trying to say. I am not actually stating that video games had nothing to do with it, but I'm unwilling to say that video games caused it. Whereas Matt Walsh seems to heavily imply that video games caused it. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm trying to say. I'm not denying that it might have played into it a little bit, but I am saying that he uses that for that and other things. But yeah, but that is a fair call out, because I wasn't trying to say that it had nothing to do with it. I work with people with special needs. I've got one in particular that there are certain games that I don't want to go anywhere near because I am concerned about how it might amplify some of the issues that he already has. So I am not blind to that aspect of it. Don't worry. I understand. Well, explaining how powerful screens are at messaging to people and influencing them, which you use who's Mr. Walsh here. You use that yourself. You have over 2 million subscribers that you use your pulpit on the screen to talk to. By the way, where does I consider this man to be a complete moron? He is also very charismatic. So when he speaks, unfortunately, there's a lot of people that end up listening. So yeah, Walsh points out, go to any school and you'll find a building full of kids whose values, beliefs, priorities, tastes have been nearly completely determined by the content they spend their days ingesting through the screen. They also get content from teachers, from parents, from books, from other areas. Ay, moron. Video games are not the only example of this, or even the most potent example, but they also obviously aren't an exception. Just like everything else in life, Matt. Again, and this journalist is taking these quotes as if it makes his point. I mean, so far he hasn't even made a point other than he looks like he is most definitely simping for Walsh. Walsh is not the only one to make this argument. The Walt Disney Company's CEO, Bob Chapek and Bob Iger, have also made this argument. In response to a Florida bill that is now law, banning the teaching of gender identity and sexual orientation to students in kindergarten through third grade, Chapek informed Disney employees that they would work around the bill through the content they create. And how did that work out for you, Bob? Your company is now at war with Disney. Not Disney, with Florida. That was a real great choice. And informing Disney employees about this, that just went out of your way to tell people that you are in the business of changing, of affecting culture. So what this writer needs to get through his head is that Jeremy Hambly is right, that this is important. Disney has actually embraced and stated that they understand that the culture war is important, and that they're going for kids this way. How about instead of just screaming about it, the other side does something about it? But apparently, it's just good enough to scream about it, I guess. I mean, I don't know. He said, because the struggle is much bigger than any one bill in any one state, I believe the best way for a company to bring about a lasting change is through the inspiring content we produce, the welcoming culture we create, and the diverse community organizations we support. This is being written as if this writer supports this idea that Disney's doing. What is this doing on bounding into comics? I don't know. I mean, I am not far right wing. I am not far left wing. I have very centrist opinions on a lot of the stuff. Yeah, but believe what we say, or you are evil. Yes. I object to a lot of things that both the right and the left say. But I also know that, say, bounding into comics tends to be very right-leaning and has been very, very critical of stuff that Disney does. And this article would lead me to believe that they approve. This is bizarre. I mean, I'm not even angry at this point. This is really bizarre. I'd expect to be reading something like this on Polygon. Or maybe We Got This Covered? What is going on with this being on Bounty into Comics? I mean, this probably isn't as amusing to see as me losing my mind while reading that article last night. But I'm just bewildered. He later noted, I firmly believe that our ability to tell such stories... Oh, and also the journalist really hasn't said that much himself. He's just been quoting things, so it's hard for me to get too pissed off at the writer yet. Just, what the hell? I firmly believe that our ability to tell such stories and have them received with open eyes, ears, and hearts would be diminished if our company were to become a political football in any debate. What the hell? You are a political football. You always have been. Watching Massive Confusion is still fun. That's good to hear. Because I do want this to be entertaining. And that's part of why I'm doing it. I mean, I also want to to shine a light on the stuff because a lot of people just see videos that just talk about it without really reading all the stuff that's being said, or look at the headlines or just the Twitter spats. And I kind of want to shine a light on what's actually happening for anybody that would like to see. So I'm glad that my confusion is entertaining as well. So, yeah, powerful content that changes hearts and minds only springs from inclusive cultures, which not only attract and retain the best and most diverse talent, but also give those employees the freedom to bring forth ideas that reflect their lives and experiences. We must work together to ensure Disney always remains such a place, Chapek asserted. When are we going to get to him actually commenting? Bob Iger would echo these comments when he returned to the role of CEO. When asked about the Florida law, Iger told Disney employees, "This company has been telling stories for 100 years, and those stories have had a meaningful, positive impact on the world. One of the reasons they've had a meaningful, positive impact is one of our core values is inclusion, acceptance, and tolerance. We can't lose that. We just can't lose that." Okay. Okay, now some random tweet. In response to the so-called "Don't Say Gay" legislation. Okay, so we're actually doing a Christopher Rufo. Let's see how he's treating this. Iger said Disney would still promote inclusion, but suggested that the company must strike a delicate balance, listen to its audience, and have respect for the people that it's serving. This is a retreat. Okay, so is he just posting that tweet to show the clip? Because Christopher Rufo, I think, would probably be more on the side of, yeah, we need to pay attention to the culture war, because that's why he's showing this. He's showing this because because he's worried about that. We are very tolerant of everyone who agrees with us. Yes, exactly. For anyone who thinks that I talk out of my ass about free speech and tolerance, I have friends that if I were bigger, people would probably try to, people on both sides of the aisle would probably be angry at me for being friends with. I don't agree with everything my friends say. That doesn't mean we can't be friends. Other people don't necessarily understand that. Yeah, but whatever. I do believe in free speech, massively. Not a purist, because frankly, anybody who is a free speech purist is going to end up defending child porn, and yeah, that's not happening. Walsh goes on to criticize is certain violent video games. Certain violent video games. Okay, now we're getting to the part where the journalist is actually talking. And he's saying, and he's editorializing, saying that Walsh criticizes certain violent video games. No, he's not just criticizing certain violent video games. He was going with an extremely broad ass brush. Okay, now I'm starting to get pissed off with this journalist that he believes are desensitizing people to violence. Did you actually read the article? He doesn't name any games. Did you read the article? You're right. He doesn't name any names of games, I don't think. But he was talking about any video games, including puzzle games. Tetris would actually fit with what he was talking about. This journalist is not being fair. What the hell? He points out that that's games whose violence is gratuitous, immoral, and overly graphic. When it is violence for the sake of violence, when it's violence where the entertainment comes from simply watching someone suffer, even if in a fictional context. One sec, I'm curious. I've actually got the article up in another window. Okay, that, that, wasn't completely a quote from this. Or at least it doesn't appear to be. Okay, so I'm wondering what exactly he's quoting that from then. Walsh notes this type of violence undermines human dignity and desensitizes the view, especially if the view and desensitizes the view, not the viewer, the view, especially if the view is a child. Wait, the view. Are we talking about the view? As in the show, The View? One sec. The View. Images. So yeah, I'm going to share a different screen. Was he talking about this? The View. Conservative journalist tries to protect conservative commentary from his own audience. Filmed at 11. Yes, that's great, disgruntled. So yeah, is this who he's talking about? The View? Walsh notes this type of violence undermines human dignity and desensitizes the view, especially if the view is a child. Okay, back to what I was actually talking about. Well, true, but still, I mean, if it was just this one word, I don't think I'd be getting it so much. But he repeats the mistake right here, the view and the view, right, one right after the other. If it was just one, I'd be like, okay, the typo got past an editor, it's fine. But it one right after the other. What the hell? However, he notes that there are good forms of violence, what he calls heroic violence, that is done in the defense of the innocent or done by just superheroes. Okay, to be fair, I have not seen where he's getting that from. I would like to know, because I'd like to see where he said it. Walsh would then go on to elaborate on his second point, noting people, and especially kids, are spending an exorbitant amount of time playing video games. You know, for an article that is named, that is called Matt Walsh triggers Jeremy Hambly with Christian teaching about moderation and discipline regards video games. I'm seeing a lot of just blowing smoke up Matt Walsh's ass, and not that much about the quartering or any of that. Just a whole bunch of blowing smoke up his ass. This writer is a Matt Walsh simp. What's it? Editor? What? Editor? What's an editor? Is that spell check? Well, I think that might be what Matt Walsh thinks it is, because that would have gotten past spell check. If you blow smoke hard enough, it comes out his nose. That's great. Disgruntled Jedi, that's great. So yeah, Walsh would then go on to elaborate on his second point, noting people, especially kids, are spending an exorbitant amount of time playing video games. I say once again, he thinks 1 hour a day is more than 1 hour a day is too much. He claims they aren't having real childhood experiences. You know, when I was growing up, I went out and played. I did stuff with friends. I did a lot of shit on my video game systems. They aren't learning how to relate to each other and the world. They're becoming fat and depressed. That sounds like a parent's problem. They can barely even like speak to each other. They can barely even like speak to each other? What the fuck? They can barely even like speak to each other. No, they can barely even speak to each other. What the hell is this like doing here? This journalist is pathetic. I mean, if writing is your job, which I have to assume that is his job, he should have better grammar than that. They can't look you in the eye. They don't stand up straight. First of all, proof. Second of all, I think that you are assuming in things here. They can barely even like speak to each other. Feeling the other played too many video games. Or if we put, say, commas after the even and then after like, then maybe they like learn to talk and write like, say, like a valley like girl, because valley girls talk like that, right? Okay, so he gets me all getting into my rage, and then his stupidity just starts making me laugh. This is a trip. He goes on to explain, it's because the screen is a tyrant. It demands obsessive attention and usually gets what it demands. There's an undeniable addictive quality to all this stuff, and most of us know that from experience. Okay, and here's some, I'm going to be honest here, I've heard a few parts of this article read out. I didn't realize it was this article, but when I was listening to a person reading this part, the comment was, this sounds like you're telling on yourself, Matt, because this sounds like you who aren't able to break away from giving his demands. It's called confession through projection. Matt, maybe you have addictive behavior. Maybe you need to work on something. It's possible to moderate your own usage. It's possible to moderate your child's usage of the device. It's possible to moderate the kind of content they're exposed to on these devices. All of this is true, but the majority of parents fail to impose that kind of moderation. Here's the problem that I have with this. I've already seen what kind of moderation Matt Walsh wants. He is the one telling the parents what moderation is required. He's not saying that parents need to moderate it. He's saying how parents have to moderate it. He is making the judgment for parents on what kind of moderation is needed. Matt Walsh, for someone who is on the side that claims to be on the side of free speech, you certainly do not seem to be. Walsh's commentary is not unheard of and is in line with the Catechism of the Catholic Church that teaches. Oh dear Lord. Okay, now I might start getting ticked. Walsh's commentary is not unheard of and is in line with the Catechism of the Catholic Church that teaches the means of social communication, especially the mass media, can give rise to a certain passivity among users, making them less vigilant in consumers of what is said or shown. Users should practice moderation and discipline in their approach to the mass media. They will want to form enlightened and correct consciences, the more easily to resist unwholesome influences. Okay, the Catechism of the Catholic Church. So where's this coming from? Because this sounds like it is coming from... Yeah, when is this written? Because, I mean, when they say the catechism of it, they make it sound like it's coming from something, say, like the Bible. But this sounds like it's more current commentary by somebody within the Catholic Church. And also, trying to force the views of any church onto the public is generally not a great idea, in my opinion. I am not anti-Catholic, Christian, really any religion, but this smacks of trying to push your beliefs onto others, and I don't like that. Pope John Paul also addressed the role of cinema in 1995, but it can be applied to other mediums such as video games. Yes, I'm trying to go into like a preacher voice, like street preacher. He said, as happens with all the media of social communication, the cinema, as well as having the power and the great merit of contributing to the cultural and human growth of the individual, can oppress freedom. particularly of the most weak, when it distorts the truth, and when it presents itself as a mirror of negative types of behavior, using scenes of violence and sex offensive to human dignity, intending to excite violent emotions to stimulate the attention of the viewer. Hey man, can you give me a hey man? The Catechism was written in 1985. It's not biblical. It's views of the Commission of Cardinals. Thank you. I never really looked too closely at what the Catechism stuff was. I, I appreciate the clarification, but thanks a lot. And yeah, Jesus. But this really feels like it's trying to be passed off as like church law or whatever, and no, it's just the opinions of the cardinals. Hey man, hey man. I mean, that's what I'm starting to feel here, and I actually have once I'm done reading this, is actually this seems like a good place to show this. One second. Do. Okay, so that, yep, that's clean. Okay. Yeah, you're right that it's technically church law, second only to Bible. I also don't really care. Sorry. But you're right. So yeah, I saw this. It's Matt Walsh triggers. This is the thing where they published that article, and then this guy says that the journal this one and this references the Catechism, which now that makes more sense because this is referencing a catechism saying that journalists have an obligation to serve the truth and not to offend against charity and disseminate information. They strive to respect with equal care the nature of facts and limits of critical judgment concerning individuals. And then bounding into comics says, "True. Now confess Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior who died for our sins and rose from the dead." Then there's a response that was deleted, and he says it again. This looks almost to me like this guy forgot to change forgot to change off of his Bounty into Comics account and is posting something, on the professional account. I mean, I could be wrong that that's what's happening, but, eesh. This is giving me a very different opinion of Bounty into Comics than I used to have. I'm Catholic just for my insights. No, I appreciate that. And, okay, don't stone me or anything, but I am a confirmed Catholic who honestly doesn't care at this point. This is Bounty into Comics mocking a person. Also, the phrasing that was used was not Catholic phrasing. It's Baptist. Okay. But yeah. That did feel more Baptist than Catholic. You're right. But yeah, this is just weird. He continued, "The attitude of those who irresponsibly bring about degrading imitative behavior, whose harmful effects can be read about each day in the pages of the newspapers, cannot be defined as free artistic expression. As the gospel reminds us, only in truth are we made free." Assuming direct control of this bullshit. Oh, you're welcome, disgruntled Jedi. And hi, Niles. Okay, so one thing that I do have to say again is this is supposedly talking about Matt Walsh going after about Matt Walsh triggering the quartering with Christian teaching about moderation and discipline in regards to video games. This is making it sound like Matt Walsh said all these things to the quartering. Yes, how did we get here? But let's make it sound like all the stuff was said to the quartering. None of the stuff was said to the quartering from what I saw, and frankly, it was such it was such an amazing shit show that I was following it. I'm pretty sure I would have noticed it. This commentary from Walsh that is clearly aligned with Christian teaching triggered Hambly, who immediately lied that he did not mention Walsh. And now this does go to what I was saying, in that he didn't mention Walsh to begin with, but he only said that second part about it's not just Matt Walsh, it's others. He said that only 6 minutes later. Annihilus, you came in just at the right point. I was mostly confused and baffled up until just a few minutes ago. Hambly wrote, "Wild take, Matt. Matt, I am not conservative, nor have I claimed to be recruiting for them." Which is true. He doesn't. Comparing our numbers is weird. You're not mentioning this tweet. It was about the right, so I didn't say Matt Walsh. Seems kind of sensitive and pointless infighting. It's true that he didn't say it originally, but only about 6 minutes later did he make the tweet that said it. So, As shown above, Hambly did indeed refer to Walsh in a subsequent tweet immediately following this one. Yeah, I'll actually give them that. Nevertheless, but you know, it would have been more accurate of them if they had said what I just said, if they'd actually looked at the timestamps and pointed out exactly what I said. Nevertheless, he went on, "I'm not interested in infighting, but I am allowed to respond to this nonsense." Yes, of course he's allowed to respond. Best of luck, Matt. Daily Wire is doing great things. Nobody's questioning that, but this feels like a stretch. Okay, Annihilus. Okay, Mouthwash. A few years, no one will remember who the fuck you are, you sad, pitiful little man. You're an insignificant speck beneath my notice. Well, I think that people will remember him, unfortunately. Catching himself in his own lie, he corrected. Okay, it's fair to point out it's not technically infighting. One sec. Okay, so he did hit something. So this editing error is actually copying from the quartering. That one's not his fault. But we do fight for about 85% of the same things. In adjacent fighting, Hambly would double down on his lie, even when confronted by Walsh, who tweeted, "Come on, man, stand by your words." He tweeted that at the exact moment that people were digging up old tweets of mine about video games. George Alexopoulos, who actually asked him for a freaking debate about this subject, who Matt Walsh has completely decided to ignore. The only reason why this is coming up is because Matt Walsh isn't willing to talk to somebody who is a political cartoonist on his own side that would like to help educate him about his opinions. Matt Walsh has been avoiding it. If you ask me, if Matt Walsh was so secure in his opinions, he'd have that debate so he could have the nice dunk that people like Walsh like having on their enemies. But since he's not willing to have that debate, I think that Matt Walsh is actually a motherfucking coward, like I've talked about last night. Journalistic integrity is hard, especially when it's called that specifically by someone using the catechism. Yes. and thanks for explaining the catechism of this girl Jedi. That actually cleared up what was going on in that to me. See what you did? You made me quote Darth Malik inadvertently, you bastard. Yes, he's afraid he will lose. Or, in my opinion, he knows he'll lose. The man is not smart. And when you're not smart and you're simply wrong, that things aren't going to go well for you in a debate. I'd love to debate Matt Walsh on this. That would be fun. George Alexopoulos actually stated, "I think that Matt Walsh is a smart guy, probably smarter than me. I would still win the debate because he's just wrong here." I'm going to be the not so humble person. Matt Walsh is a moron, and I'd like to believe I'm pretty damn smart. I would crush Matt Walsh. Bitch, he already lost. He lost by being unwilling to talk. Matt, you're so wrong to funny. Why are you so sensitive? My point was about the right not understanding and dismissing things like video games and anime to their own detriment. If you took that personal, that's more of a you issue, bud. Yeah, that is a you issue. This guy is such a this journalist is such a moron. Hamley continued to double down on his lie when Walsh confronted him again. You mentioned my name. Here's the thing: I do think that Quartering did mean was referring to Walsh, but Walsh is only interested in talking about you mentioned me by name. And this is all deflecting away from the actual issue. Jeremy shouldn't have lied, or at least I don't know that he lied, but he, if he lied, he shouldn't have lied because that gave Walsh a chance to deflect away to that. So yeah, I'm an idiot. I would crush Matt Walsh. I have the power of Google search. Yes. So, Walsh, you're actively deflecting, and this journalist is showing that. And instead of calling him out on that, and this journalist is actually propping Walsh up on it. It was saying that Henley continued to double down on his lie, not saying Walsh continued to deflect away. Now that could be a matter of opinion. So that one, yeah. Hambley replied, Matt, I did not mention you. I was clarifying to people who thought it was you, that it was in fact not. The fact that it was only 6 minutes later makes me go, I'm not so sure about that. There you go, rely on numbers again to try and win an argument. Yeah, if you want to play the game, I suggest revealing how much a Daily Wire pays to promote your content per month. Oh, right. And I know your whole thing is start drawing with people with bigger platforms. Jeremy has over 1 million subs. Bigger platform? Sure, he has a bigger platform. Jeremy's doing just fine with how many subs he has. But I really think you should consider generating content another way. Or at least if you're going to stay on the strategy, stop with the passive aggressive stuff. It's lame. Matt Walsh is lame. Hambley would then share DMs he sent to Walsh back in March about a completely unrelated topic in order to try and defend himself from accusations of clout chasing. Okay, I actually know what this is, and before I read the rest of it, I'm going to show it. This is Jeremy sending to Matt Walsh. You know who I am. We fight for the same things with different methods. Are you available for an interview this week to discuss how we can meet in the middle? So for all of the people, okay, and have fun, Alice. Yeah, go smash down those Baldur's gatekeepers. But yeah, all these people saying, in Jeremy, why don't you take it to the DMs? Well, this was a few months ago, but he has proof that Matt Walsh does not respond to DMs. So why should he assume that it would change now? He tweeted, I am not playing in with this take it to the DMs crap and people claiming I am clout chasing. I do just fine. Second of all, I tried to over 2 months ago. Right here. 0 replies. Hate to break it to you. Matt Walsh is the one doing this in public for clout, not me. Go whine to him about being a drama queen. Hambley can be a drama queen. He can sometimes go for clout. I think that Matt Walsh is the drama queen here, though. Next, he tweeted, I love how Matt gets to shitster and be a drama queen all he wants, make videos from some high horse, and act all offended about a tweet that wasn't even about him, and nobody says he's being a drama queen. I'm saying he's a drama queen right here. Mark this spot. 59 minutes and 12 seconds. Matt Walsh is a motherfucking drama queen. There you go. My replies, however, are full of people telling me to let it go, but not him. To be fair, I am betting that Matt Walsh has people in his DMs that he's just ignoring it as well about stopping talking about it. Just to be fair. After previously taking issue with Walsh touting the number of people he's brought into conservatism, Hamley tweeted, I hope to change conservatives with huge platforms' minds about culture like video games and anime. To dismiss it, or in many cases demonize it, is to actively reject millions of potential Republican voters who might not see themselves as conservative. In what way is Jeremy wrong here? He's not. Jeremy is actually saying that he gets that Matt Walsh has a bigger platform. So when Hambly is being asked what he hopes to get out of this is except besides clout, Hambly is actually completely admitting that what he's hoping to do is change the people with the platform's minds about it, not that he's trying to change everybody else's. So he gives a legitimate reason for why he's talking about this. Two drama queens together make an alien drama queen. Oh dear Lord, we better run and hide. So yeah, and that was in response to somebody saying, "I follow you both, and my feed is full of your repeated messages about this faux drama. Who cares to start it? What do you hope to gain?" He actually gives a good answer to that. An apology, a gold star for having the correct opinion. I'm not saying roll over, but dude, you more than made your point. But the thing there is that the person he wants to make his point to is Matt Walsh, or other conservatives that act like this. So I think that Jeremy answered that pretty well there. He will continue to attack Walsh by lying about his position in video games and that he believes playing them causes real world violence. Okay, you motherfucker. You motherfucker. Jeremy is not lying about Walsh's position. We just read that article. And I'm betting that by this point, Jeremy found that article himself and read it too. So Jeremy knows that actually is Matt Walsh's opinion. That Matt Walsh's opinion is that he believes playing them causes real world violence. Journalist, you just lied. You lied right here. Right here. You lied. Hambly tweeted, "Now it all makes sense. Matt is literally violent video games causes real world violence guy. Ha ha ha. This has been debunked a zillion times." Jeremy is correct. You're trying to protect and or alter the story to protect Walsh. Exactly. I'm gonna make a short out of this part. I'm gonna show this. Okay. Yeah, and stop pretending violent video games are harmless just because you like playing them. Fun thing here, if you actually go to that particular link gives you a 40, I believe it's 401, maybe it's 404 error not found page. You actually have to look on their website to find the actual article because they moved it. The link in that tweet, if it's the tweet I'm thinking of, does not work. You actually have to look to find it. However, Matt Walsh's actual argument from the article Hambly took issue with does not claim that at all. We just read it. Instead, Walsh writes, "We all know it's pretend. We all know the images are digital. We know you're not a serial killer, but the fact remains that you still enjoy pretending to kill people. Your favorite recreational activity is to pretend that you are killing people. You probably will never kill a single person in real life, but it's still not good. It's still unhealthy. It's still pretty disturbing that you find so much joy in simulating death and destruction." Okay, one sec. I need to do a quick search because now this one is coming from that article. Here it is. Okay, yeah. And was it above it or below it? Yeah. He just took something out of the middle of it that's out of context. Use context. He continues to say, "I say the same thing about people who love bleak, graphic torture porn movies. A healthy, well-adjusted, morally aware person would find no enjoyment whatsoever in those films. Not because he thinks they're real, but simply because he has no interest in entering a fantasy world filled with blood and death." Yep, it was in the article yesterday. Yep, exactly. Oh, this journalist is a moron. This proves to me that he read the article and he is still and he is still lying his ass off to protect Matt Walsh. He is lying. And now we know he is lying with knowledge. I believe that that the term is malice. The quartering could actually bring suit. Interesting. This could actually be a defamation case. I mean, he might have to prove he might have to prove actual damages, which I don't think he could actually prove damages from this. But I think he could win. I just don't think he'd get anything out of it. Okay, moving on. After sharing a personal experience about the film Hostel, Walsh further detailed, that's one of the major effects of violent video games movies certainly do have on a person. They feed the twisted part of his brain that delights in ugliness. We all have that in us, to some extent, in one form or another. But we should not indulge the instinct. We should not embrace it and fuel it. We bring ourselves into dark places when we do. Even if the dark place does not involve shooting up a school, it is still a dark place, and it is better to be in the light. We already covered this yesterday. You fucking asshat. He would also point to desensitization. At this point, he's just copying parts of it. A person should be horrified by brutality and violence. We should be sickened by it. We should not take pleasure in it, and neither should we be neutral towards it. It's clear that a lot of kids today, a lot of people generally, and they have a certain numbness, a certain emptiness inside them. They do not recoil at evil. They do not feel disgust at disgusting things. I mean, first of all, for you to actually make these claims, you do need to actually prove some of it. If you don't embrace it, you lose control of it. You have to embrace it so you can learn to control it. Exactly. I mean, most people, I think, see me as a relatively calm, intelligent guy. Yesterday, you guys all got to see me just lose my shit. Guess what part of the reason why I don't typically lose my shit is? I play games. I do things that let me vent it. Yeesh. They do not recoil at evil. They do not feel disgusting things. This at least partly because they spend so much of their time in a disgusting virtual world, pretending to do disgusting things for fun. Clearly still triggered by Walsh, Hambly took issue with another of his articles regarding yoga, an opinion which is also in line with Christian teaching. I've actually seen this before. This is not the first time I saw the thing about yoga. And it's insane, at least in my opinion. But the idea of this is that the different yoga poses put you in to the right position for spirits to inhabit you. And okay. Some of us are capable of separating fantasy from reality. Violent movies are just that. Movies that they are fake, and same with games. They're not reality. No one wants to see violence in IRL. No one. Yoga comment, wife snickers. Yep. When I first saw this, it was insane. It just kind of came across. Actually, I'm not sure. I could be wrong, but I think I might have actually seen it through the quartering covering an article on it. That might actually where I saw it a while ago. But yeah, Walsh, that could be a fun one to read too. You know, I never saw this trajectory of me taking aim at Matt Walsh. I always just saw him as this moron, but now he's got me wanting to to just show how stupid he is. Yoga comment, he's had repeatedly to desk at high speed. Yes. And this journalist is backing up Walsh. Hambly would also upload a video where he would continue to double down on his lie that he wasn't talking about Walsh. He attempted to explain his tweet directly referencing Walsh, saying, "Was I talking about Matt? No. In fact, the following tweet was in response to all the people in the replies saying, 'Are you talking about Matt Walsh?' Once again, if he'd posted that tweet 20 minutes or an hour later, I would actually believe Jeremy. He posted it 6 minutes later. And I said, Matt's not the only guy saying it. There was some other morons who tweeted, anime is for pedophiles the other day. That is true. That is true. I saw that, and that was completely insane as well. So once again, if that reply had been an hour later, I would actually be backing up Jeremy on this. But it was 6 minutes later, so Except it literally was about Matt Walsh, given he referenced him by name and then noted it reflected Walsh's views. As expected, Hambly would also double down throughout the video on everything he previously tweeted. Well, of course he did. I mean, first of all, Jeremy runs a grift. He'll tell you that he runs a grift, and he also knows that the people that watch his YouTube channel aren't necessarily on Twitter, or even if they are, weren't necessarily following all this. So what's he gonna do? Just say one or two things out of context? No, he's gonna make a video covering the entire thing, and of course he's gonna spin it from his side. Mind you, I think his side is the one that's actually accurate. But, duh! Walsh's criticisms of video games are nuanced. Walsh's criticisms of video games are nuanced. What the hell? We should not become slaves to our hobbies. They should be hobbies. Yes, that is true. We shouldn't become slaves to our hobbies. And, yeah. His arguments about violence are also valid, but again, there's also nuance to it. Oh, you're now trying to talk about nuance. Now you're trying to talk about nuance. After pumping so much smoke up Matt Walsh's ass. And frankly, by this time in the article, a lot of people have already noped out of it. So even if he starts being honest here, he's already poisoned the well by showing everything slanted in Matt Walsh's favor. And even if the rest of the stuff is actually fair, he's put this stuff so far down in the motherfucking article that people won't actually get to it. This is the sort of thing Bounty into Comics has actually commented on when talking about other news organizations. And then this motherfucker does it. Well, I guess you learn from the best. My wife's surrounded by craft projects. I'm not a slave to my hobbies. His arguments about violence are also valid, but again, there's nuance to it. There's a difference between logging into a game and taking joy in the violence and death and competing against other people, solving problems, enjoying a well-told story, the numerous other benefits that video games can offer. These nuances are something that Hambly does not engage with at all. Matt Walsh doesn't have any nuance either. These nuances are something that Hambly does not engage with at all. Rather, he resorts to lying and gotcha moments on Twitter. Yeah. By the way, anybody who comes in and wants to say in the comments that I'm wrong about any of this stuff, I will actually find you with the stuff in Matt Walsh's article to back up what I'm saying. Either that, or I will give you a timestamp to me reading it so you can hear what I have to say about the stuff too. So yeah, I am not talking out of my ass. This is with me having just read this article yesterday. Indeed, Hambly's tweets seemingly don't even care about Walsh's actual arguments about video games. In fact, his last criticism is not even about video games at all, but about the Christian warning of practicing yoga, a pagan ritual. And that appears to be where Hambly's true ire with Walsh was. His Christianity. Really? No. That last part was Hambly trolling in Matt Walsh. That's all. And he leaves it off with that. He doesn't prove it. Holy shit! What do you make of Hambly getting triggered about Matt Walsh and his opinions on video games? I think that you are a shitty journalist and need to take this hit piece down and consider your line of work. And I'm going to consider any time that I see your name, Jeff Trent, I think it was, anytime I see Bounty into Comics, if I see that you're the one that wrote it, yes, John F. Trent. If I see that you're the one that wrote it, I'm going to know that I do not need to take it seriously because you don't do research. And when you do research, you cherry pick out of it you leave context out, and you only use what helps your side of the story. You are a fucking moron. To be fair, yoga is evil. It's probably the only thing I've seen dumber than video games are evil. For funsies, should I should I start this exercise explaining why yoga is very evil? Should I? That was most of my content for now, so I'll be ending in a moment unless you think we should watch this video. Is Trent the actual owner? Okay, yeah, I'm going to do a quick look. I didn't meet the team. John F. Trent, founder and editor-in-chief. Holy fucking shit! John F. Trent, I did not know that. Good catch. Good fucking catch. He's the one that is the founder and editor-in-chief of Bounty into Comics. Holy shit! Oh, sorry. I didn't move the screen over. And because I just moved my tab over to meet the team. Take a look. John F. Trent, founder and editor-in-chief. Right here. Right here. Yep. I thought that they just may have had a rogue person in there. This is the guy who's in charge? Holy shit! Okay. Well, now that's interesting. Okay, so let's watch this exorcist saying why it's evil.
Question about yoga, actually, because I know a lot of people.
Okay, well let's hit up YouTube, and then we'll share that screen. Okay. Yeah. He's protecting Matt Walsh. I mean, that's insane.
People will use that, or what you thought about that, because I know a lot of people will use that as a form.
Okay, I'm not sure why it's playing through my TV. Are you able to hear it?
About yoga, actually, because I know a lot of people will use that, or what you thought about that, because I know a lot of people will use that as a form just for stretching, or for, I don't know if they're practicing it, or they're just.
So this is yoga practice evil? This is Friar Vincent Lanford, exorcist in Diocese of Indianapolis. Okay, cool.
Trying to use it to scratch, become more flexible, but I was curious what you thought about that.
So the practice of yoga, the church does caution against that. You know, the word yoga is associated with yoke. So what is one yoking themselves to? And the church says that oftentimes, for the majority of people, they may not be able to separate the physical exercise from the prayers that are associated, the spirituality that's associated with it. Because even the different postures within yoga are different prayer postures for the different deities within Hinduism. So the danger would be maybe somebody begins simply for the physical benefit, but then they may get intrigued by the spirituality that's tied to it.
Oh dear Lord!
If one needs to exercise,
don't do yoga.
There's a lot of other good ways to do that rather than adopt.
Don't do yoga. Don't do yoga. Oh my God. Yeah, I'm not sure where I first saw that, but I saw this somewhere. Yoga means means union, not yoke. Okay, I didn't know that. But ending on a funny note. That's great. Okay. Well, thank you for coming and watching this with me, Edith Squad Jedi, and Nihilus, even though I don't think you're here anymore, and Eagle Rider, and CT if you're still around. Thank you to everybody who showed up to watch. That was a treat. that didn't get quite as pissed off as I did last night, but yeah. I'm gonna go do some yoga. See if I can finally master the watch my head spin pose. Well, have a good time doing yoga. I'll probably be playing some more games and getting myself ready to kill more things. So yeah. Oh my god. Okay, see ya. Bye. Oh, actually, no. First of all, I actually added in something.
Mr. Madison, what you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Okay, a simple wrong would have done just fine, but
You remain one.
So yeah, I actually after we did that thing yesterday, I uploaded that as a reaction to StreamYard for me, so I can just click on it now. So anyway, see ya. Bye.